Hi, I'm Michele Kerr, and I'm a graduate of Stanford's Teacher Education Program.
And there was a concentrated effort at 2 different points to get rid of me. Have you ever been, you get accepted to university and then they have admit day or something like that, where the people who are accepted go and the university talks to you and tells you we're fabulous, please come take us, blah, blah, blah. So I went to that day.
And somebody said, so are you coming to Stanford? I was, because I'd been accepted, I said, well, the problem is that Stanford, like all ed schools, is very progressive. And I'm kind of worried about the idea of paying $50,000 a year for something that I kind of disagree with.
Nothing happened from that until a month later when I emailed the head of the program, and I just had a question about the student teaching program. And at this point, I hadn't yet accepted. And she emailed me back saying, why don't you come in and talk about it? And I thought, well, that's odd. It was a quick question. All she had to do was email back. And I thought, it was really kind of funny to remember thinking this. I thought, maybe she just wants, I haven't accepted yet. Maybe she wants to talk to me and talk me into accepting. And of course, it was exactly the opposite. And I got to the meeting. She addressed my student teaching program in 20 seconds. And the next 40 minutes was a meeting in which, without saying so specifically, she made it very clear that I was not to accept. Made it very clear. She said, I just want you to know that you will be scrutinized very carefully here. You will have to do a long, extended teaching video, and we will be looking to make sure that you adhere to the elements of the program.
I emailed the ombudsman that day and was talking with him the next day. And that was something for anybody who's going through this process that I strongly recommend doing is, write up what happened, and then see a representative to register your concerns. I accepted on a Wednesday, the week after. And the day after I accepted, I got an email from Rachel, and it said, Michele, your behavior last week at the meeting was appalling. And then she described it, and she described it inaccurately, very much so. What she said I did was I threatened to accept, which amused me, I threatened to accept, and stomped out saying, I'm going to make you miserable, myself miserable, and everybody here miserable.
I instantly saw what she was doing, which was to try and create a situation in which I was being viewed as recalcitrant. And then she was going to use that as means to deny me from the program.
Stanford tried to rescind its acceptance because they learned that I didn't have views that they considered acceptable. This is when I first contacted FIRE. And FIRE was just really outstanding. They took it over and wrote a really terrific letter.
And you could tell Stanford was looking at it going, well, this is a PR disaster no matter what we do.
The concerns letter marks the second attempt to get rid of me. The concerns letter is Stanford's version of, is a very big deal in teacher ed called the dispositions theory. In teacher credentialing, you can do everything right. You can have good student teaching, you have good grades, but if they decide there's something wrong with you that means you won't be a good teacher, they can yank it. And the way that Stanford starts that process is the concerns letter.
The 3 reasons they used was I was late to class. Have any of you ever been late to class? Okay, your career's over. Second, that my students didn't like me. Not my student, my classmates didn't like me. And the third was that I turned in late assignments.
They knew they couldn't say, look, we want you gone because of your views. So they were basically, this was their effort to manufacture a case because they can use any reason at all. I had decided, actually with FIRE's advice, that it was time to notify the students of what was happening. And then I got a letter written 2 days after I wrote my email, because they'd given me what I call the laundry list. It was like everything in the kitchen sink. And I knew instantly that meant that anything I did was going to bring this up. In other words, they had this complete carte blanche. They basically said, if you email students anymore, we will have to review the concerns letter. And it was at that point that I emailed you guys and I said, I need to start a grievance. And that was my next big step. My purpose in putting together the grievance was to say, lawsuit alert. In other words, look at the documentation I have.
One of the things that kept me going through the whole thing is someday they're going to write about this story, and someday other people will be listening or reading, and if they're in this trouble, that I'll be able to say, here's what to do. And this is why I go out and talk about it, is to say, when you have these problems, don't react in a way that seems logical. I was 15 years in corporate America before I went to teaching. Okay, document. Play their game. Don't tell them that their game is wrong. Play their game and win on their rules, and find all the allies you can.